All of us will remember the 2002 fire season. Years of drought, record temperatures, plenty of fuel. At times it seemed all of America was burning. I'm Walter Cronkite. I'd like you to hear something.
Situation. Electricity's out in the entire town, and I may be the only working generator. QSL loud and clear. Do you have any priority messages?
They're just two average guys who saw the need and volunteered.
All other stations, please stand by.
They're radio hams, amateurs, giving of their own time and spending their own money, trying to help out when and where America needs it most. Not just at wildfires, but at earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes.
Just one tornado now, the other one died.
At floods, at any disaster. Hams belonging to amateur radio's emergency groups were called out on September 11th when America came under attack. Cell phone and landline circuits were jammed and virtually useless, but dozens of radio amateurs helped the police and fire departments and other emergency services maintain communications in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. Their country asked, and they responded without reservation. But being a good Samaritan sometimes brings with it a risk, and sometimes it's not just risky, it's downright dangerous.
There's a gas leak! Let's go! Turn around and go that way!
Gas leak!
That's exactly what happened in Colorado in June 2002 on the 137,000-acre Hayman fire. This is rural America out here. You can't always rely on a cell phone and when you need help.
It looks like the wind shifted back to the west and or northwest, and it's moving the fire back in this direction.
The fire is just right over this ridge here behind me. It's starting to get close. Looks like we're going to have to prepare to get out of here pretty shortly.
The sky had already turned ominously dark. The air was thick with smoke, making breathing more difficult. The sun reduced in intensity to little more than a light bulb through the smoky haze. The wind, increasing in speed, began blowing the fire toward the volunteers.
The sheriff came through a little bit ago and asked us how fast we could get out of here. We're basically right across the road from the last fire line.
So they stood by their radios, handling emergency communications for the police, the fire, the Teller County Office of Emergency Services.
This is West Creek Fire.
Ted, could I get a status update, your location, please?
Things are pretty quiet. Firefighters should be coming in for supper before long.
The role of amateur radio operators in this particular event has been very significant. We've provided a lot of communication capability. We're in an area where it's difficult to communicate. As a result, our capabilities greatly enhance the efforts of law enforcement, of firefighting, of the Red Cross and the Salvation Army.
It takes a lot of cheeseburgers to fight a forest fire.
Yes, sir. Okay. Got it?
Thank you.
In the end, there was a break in the weather. The winds changed, and all of the emergency workers, the firefighters, the police, the radio amateurs, handling the communications, all of them were safe.
This is WG0N. I'll be coming back to the command center.
You know, we call them radio amateurs, but their skill levels are anything but amateur.
These are people who in any other realm would be called professionals. They're the people who know how to put the pieces together, know how to build the networks, know how to get information from one place to another when every other system has failed. I don't think that's amateur.
Ham radio has been around for 100 years, but that doesn't mean out of date. Even America's Space Shuttle and the International Space Station have ham radio on board, and it's not just for the enjoyment of the crew.
Do you tend to reevaluate your life when you look at the Earth? Over.
When you float up here above the Earth in our little spacecraft and look down at the great big spacecraft that we all fly on, it makes us all think about what our priorities are. Over.
Someone once said, and it's probably true, that amateur radio is the only fail-safe communication system in the world. Many of you know I'm a sailor. I really enjoy being on the sea with the wind at my back, underway, under sail. What most of you don't know is I'm a radio ham too. My call is KB2GSD, and you can bet that when I'm on the ocean, even if the GPS, the radar, and the ship-to-shore fail, I've still got my ham radio station. It really is the best backup communication system in the world, and that's the way it is.
The meteorologists here at ABC 11 are working closely with the National Weather Service to make sure you and your family stay safe during severe weather. There's also another team working with the Weather Service whose main concern is your safety, Skywarn. John Van Pelt grew up in Raleigh and has been watching our skies for more than 30 years.
Our group is Central Carolina Skywarn. We handle almost a quarter of the state. And we're the volunteer spotter group for the National Weather Service.
Using ham radio, these trained Skywarn spotters tell the Weather Service what is or isn't on the ground.
We take the hail reports, the flooding reports. If we see wind damage being done, we report that. Large limbs coming down, live trees coming down, and of course any rotation in the clouds or funnel clouds or tornadoes on the ground.
In the heart of Carolina, the trees and hilly terrain make it difficult to see approaching storms, and the curvy roads make it even tougher to get away.
That's why we don't chase in this area. A lot of us try to find good vantage points where we can see 360 all around us.
John knows how to play it safe, and that's exactly what he wants everyone else to do.
Stay safe, stay inside. We get a lot of training from the National Weather Service, so we get advanced spotter training that shows us tornado genesis and what to expect and what to look for in the clouds to get ready for a possibility of a tornado. Most people have watched Twister and they've watched The Perfect Storm, and they see the TV versions of how this stuff works, and it's not like that at all.
John's spotter vehicle is rigged with the latest gear to keep him ahead of the storm.
We can monitor the satellite imagery. We can see the radar imagery, and the radar imagery will update every 5 or 6 minutes when we're in a severe situation, so we can actually see what's happening around us to either go to where we want to observe something or to stay away from something that's dangerous.
The mobile weather station monitors the conditions outside. The scrolling text on the rooftop displays warnings and safety information. The internet camera streams live pictures, and the NOAA weather radio brings him updated watches and warnings. But even with the latest technology, not all tornadoes can be foreseen.
The tornado in '88 was bad too, because it was a twilight zone situation. It was November. It was the middle of the night. You don't expect that to happen, and the next day you wake up and look at this area where you live, and you see landmarks are gone, and you don't even really know where you are.
You can see here just how destructive that twister was as it ripped through North Raleigh. A devastating F4 on the Fujita scale, packing winds of 207 to 260 miles an hour, leaving 4 dead and 156 injured. John hopes he'll be there to warn people the next time a tornado touches down. Skywarn volunteers like John are an integral part of putting the pieces of the severe weather puzzle together. And you can be sure that they, along with the National Weather Service and the ABC 11 AccuWeather Storm Center team, are all working together to get you the most reliable and up-to-date severe weather information.
New mesoscale discussion.
This is Jim Sellers, and he loves following the weather.
Back when I was young and relatively healthy, I was, out chasing storms.
But because of health problems, Jim is confined mostly to just his bed. But he doesn't let that deter him from playing an avid role in covering the Ozarks weather.
I'm pretty much dedicated into watching the weather, and this is where I can protect the public, is right here. I don't have to be out anywhere.
With 2 computers at his fingertips, accessing Doppler radar and the all-important amateur radio, Jim helps coordinate and disseminate weather information to many sources, like the National Weather Service.
I basically control the amateur radio side of it and act as a clearing point for the information and talk via radio, providing them the ground truth reports.
But Jim also is in direct connection with a group of storm spotters called Skywarn, and one of those is Jeff Morrissey.
It's a way for us to enjoy our interest and then give back to the community. You know, the protection of life and property is really the goal, and helping the National Weather Service issue warnings so media groups such as KSPR can get the word out to people, and hopefully results in less injuries and lives saved.
When things get bad, Jeff is out in the elements tracking severe storms, using his mobile chase vehicle equipped with all the latest gadgets. But one is more important to him than the others.
If I didn't have anything else, I could do this with the amateur radio.
Hail to the size of quarters and thunderstorm winds to 60 miles per hour and isolated
tornado possibles also late tonight. Spot activation may be needed late tonight across
western Missouri and southeast Kansas.
This is 0 UAM.
All right, thanks, Jim. Copy direct. KB0 Whiskey Victor Tango, clear. It's what gets me my information to safely position me on a storm and what allows me to relay back the information about the storm.
But with all of the technology like Doppler radar, why do we need people like Jeff to actually go out in the storms?
Radar just can't see it sometimes, and I think it's very important. And spotters can report what's going on at the base of the storm, the wall cloud, funnel, whatever, a tornado on the ground, whatever it is.
You could build the best radar network in the world, many Dopplers, phased array radar. You're still going to have ground truth observations. So
we asked Jeff, what's the worst weather you've been in while spotting?
Actually, January 8th, the overnight event back in 2008, getting caught in 90-mile-an-hour winds in the car was pretty crazy.
Which brings us to our next point. It can be dangerous.
The most important thing to understand is this is not a game. It's not something that you should just go out and do just because you're interested in it. Training and safety is key.
Well, a hard job with work hazards has to be a good paycheck, right?
Jim, tell me how much you get paid to do this.
Nothing.
It doesn't pay, it costs.
Zero.
It's a volunteer network, so it's all self-funded.
It's all volunteer. All volunteer.
For them, it's all about
protecting life and property. It's what we do.
In the early hours after the tsunami, it was ham radio that was on the air, saving lives. When Florida was ripped by hurricane, the hams were there. In the critical moments after the attack of 9/11, it was the hams who coordinated emergency messages. When disasters strike, the hams are ready. Ham radio works when other communications don't.